Hello everybody, Mosey Designer here, doing a tutorial of how to get started with the Hammer editor. Yes, I am the Unreal guy, but I'm also working on that TF2 project, and as I'm learning Hammer, I figured I'd teach you guys what I'm learning, if you wanted to dive into this editor as well. So this is kind of off-the-cuff, unscripted tutorial, so let's get started. So when you load your Hammer editor, it looks like this, and you have 4 viewports. You have your camera viewport, your front, side, and top. You can change these if you like. You just click on the name of the viewport and you can change it to 2D top, 2D front, 2D side, 3D wireframe, flat, textured, shaded, lighting, ray trace preview, light map grid, and smoothing. But I have mine set up this way with front, side, and top, and my camera. So let's start building something. You want to come over to your left side, over here with the buttons, and click on this gray looking cube here. Click on it, and in my top view, which I have on this window here, just click and drag. And as you can see, it's drawing out a square. There's 1024 by 1024. Now this tutorial is not covering scale or anything, but just basic shape construction, so let's go with 1024 by 1024. And if you notice on the left side window, it has a height of 64. Right here. And in my camera, I can see an outline of it. Hit enter, and there we go. To move around your camera viewport, just put your mouse inside the camera viewport, hit Z, and with WASD you can fly around, and hit Z again to stop the camera controls. So when we hit enter on that cube, it applied a basic texture that's default from Hammer. But let's say, since I'm working on a TF2 project, let's look at some TF2 textures. We can go to our texture browser here on the right, click on browse. In keywords, type TF, and filter, let's say, floor. Pick this one right here. And we can go to the left side again where it says apply current texture, this red cube here, and there we go. If you are at all familiar with original level design tools like original Unreal, and Hammer kind of follows that same methodology, or like I think the Quake editor and Radiant, is you can, since it's BSP, you can modify the scaling of the texture. So let's say I want to change my texture scale. I can hit Z, my camera view, and click on the box that says toggle texture application, or Shift A, and I can control click on and off different surfaces. Let me move this out of the way. So for example, if I just wanted to modify the texture of the floor here that we'll see, I can just click on it, turns red, and here we have our texture scale in the X and Y, texture shift, justification, rotation. So let's say I want to increase my scale, I can make it 0.5 in the X, and 0.5 in the Z. 0.5 in the Z. Well, come on, let me type. There we go, 0.5 in the Z. Let's, for shits and giggles, rotate this by 45 degrees. Hit enter. And there is a weird checkerboard reflection because I don't have any reflection captures in this scene, but as you can see, the texture is now rotated 45 degrees and scaled at 0.5 by 0.5. Based on your needs of the level and spacing, this will change, but that's how you do it. So let's add in some more walls and make this a traditional my first box level for Hammer. So I can go back to my brush cube here, click on my top view, zoom in, and right now it's drawing a 64 by 64 cube. Maybe I think that's too much, so I can hit my bracket keys on the keyboard. Left bracket reduces your grid size. You'll see it right here in the corner. Snap on grid 16, 8, 4. I recommend not going below 4, then your brushwork gets messy. But if I hit close bracket, the grid size starts going up. So let's work with a grid size of 16. Click on our cube again here. And let's say we want a 32 by 32 thickness wall, and wants to cover the length of the entire cube. And in our front view, it is parallel to our existing cube. Let's just hit enter. And we fly around. There it is. It's a little off, but we can fix that here. Click on our arrow, and then you can grab one of the points here and bring it back in. As I mentioned, in the front view, it is parallel to our cube, but we want it to be a wall. So we can grab this point here and raise it up to say, well, we already have 64 units here, so 256 plus 64, 32, right there, so 320. That made our first wall. I can zoom out on my top view, hold shift and click, and you can duplicate it to the other side, like so. And if you wanted to make the wall on the other side, simply we can shift, click on the cube first, hold shift, left click drag. I forgot the shortcut, but you want to select the asset and hit Control M, and you have your transformation thing window, and in the different directions you can rotate by 90 degrees. So I did it by X, Control Z, Control M, by 90 degrees, like so, Control Z, but we want to rotate it around the Z axis, so we'll put 90 degrees in the Z. Nice and clean. We can drag our wall piece here, make sure it snaps, and make sure it extends to the other side. Select it, hold shift and drag, and make sure it is snapped. Don't want any gaps. So there we go, we have a room with 4 walls. So we can change the textures of our wall. We can go to our tool here, what was called with the green cube on it, and click on a surface. Go to browse. Let's type in wall in our filter. Let's say this one here, brick, and hit apply. And click on all 4 sides, holding control and moving our camera around. Hit apply. Make sure we select the brick material and hit apply. So one thing to note in Hammer is you're kind of building inside the negative space, kind of like original Unreal Editor. It's not additive. So anything outside of here does not exist. So if I built now, there would be something called a light leak because there's no roof per se on this room. Just it's going out to infinity, and you'll get a weird hall mirror effect if it actually does render. So to do this, we can actually put a roof on this room, or build a very simple skybox. So to think of a skybox, it's like the bigger room of the level holding the smaller room, which is the actual playable level. So we can go back to our cube tool, block tool, and let's increase our grid size. Say 64, or even 128. And I'm going to pull out from our playable area and drag out the cube, check my side view, and so this is 512 by 2176. Hit enter. As you can see, it has the brick material, We don't want that. So we can go to our texture browser, and with the keyword TF, we can filter by dev textures, DEV, scroll down, or you can type sky as well. Scroll all the way down, and you want this blue texture called skybox, and then click on apply material or texture. I keep saying material from Unreal, but it's texture in this case. Just like with our room, we need to seamlessly wrap this skybox texture brush around our entire space. So I will select it, shift drag, Control M, rotation on the 90 degree of Z, snap it here, select this, duplicate it over, select this, duplicate it over. Now bear in mind, we also have to build a skybox floor and a ceiling to encompass this space away from the negative space, and it must be completely sealed. Again, I hit Z to use my WSD camera controls. I'll select a wall, I'll duplicate it, and in my side view, I'll scale it smaller. I reduced my grid size to 32, and so now it is 64 height with the same length of 2176. And back to my top view, I can select this widget, and drag it across and make sure it fits completely on top of my skybox area. And in the camera view, looks like it does. Hit enter. No, not hit enter, we already built it, but we select it, and we can shift drag it down below, so we have a skybox floor, like so. Now to add a skylight color to the space, we can click on the Entities tool here, click in the space, we can zoom in on it, double click, and basically this is called an object in Hammer, and you can give it a class, kind of, I think, what I remember from programming, different classes of things, sort of way of thinking. So right now I have it on prop static, which is to place static meshes, but what we need is, if you type light, we want the light environment asset, and hit apply and close out. You should get this little funky sun looking dude called light environment, and we can just drag it here and make sure it's high up. Doesn't matter where it is really, but just more of my OCD. So there is an official list of skybox values to get a certain sky that you want. I will post this in the description below. These are posted by Valve, and they're based by game, but since we're kind of making a TF2 level, we can keep scrolling down. Like City 17, Space, Counter-Strike. So yes, keep scrolling down. Is Team Fortress 2. Let me click on this, and I'll put this link in the description below so you don't have to scroll all the way down, but they have like HDR Sky Day 1. This was used on Item Test and Target. Then you have Sky TF204. This is used on 2 Fort. You have Sky Upward, which is used on Upward, and so on and so forth. So if there's a theme you want to copy from TF2, you can just look at the map name and see what skybox they're using. So to keep things simple, let's pick the sky for Upward, PL Upward. And on the top it says the example map, but the important thing is where it says ideal sun angle, sun pitch, brightness, ambience, HDR, ambience, and sun spread angle. These are the values we need to copy. So I'm going to move this to my second monitor, and I'm going to double click this guy. So we need the ideal sun angle, so I'm going to copy the values from upward to show you what I'm copying. I'm copying these values here, 0, 3250, and I'm going to place them right here. And then the pitch for this one, according to the wiki, is -55. The brightness values, copy those. Ideal ambience, copy paste those. Ideal HDR, copy paste those. Ideal HDR ambience, copy those, and sun spread is 0.5. Hit apply, and you won't see anything right now, but if we add a player start, we can go back to our entity tool, click, and you want to type in team, or you want to type in, sorry, you want to type in spawn, and you want info player team spawn, and apply. And I got this actor that looks like the engineer, that's colored red and blue because it can be used for either team. But to get this, there's a pack of assets. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but it's called a BOOJUM SNARK asset pack. Very helpful, and I'll put a link to that below. It saves you a lot of time. So using that pack, I have the TF2 spawn point set up. And you always want to make sure that's a little bit above the ground, like it is right here. So we'll hit save. I'll give this a name. I want to keep things in lowercase. You can see I've made a lot of maps iteration, but let's call this learning underscore hammer underscore 1. And you might need to have Steam connected for this, so make sure you're logged into your Steam account, TF2 downloaded. But you can run the map, and don't run the game after compiling because my compilers take a long time with that map I'm working on. But for this, we can leave it off for now. So let's hit OK and compile, and if everything works right, things will be pretty hunky-dory. But if things go wrong, the compiler will tell you. Most likely it's a light leak, which means your brushes are not connected and light is escaping out to the negative space we talked about earlier. We're just going to hit OK, and you'll have this window pop up. That's your compiler. Depending on your computer, might take a while, might be quick. It's a small map, so it should be pretty quick, but my other map takes a couple of hours. So I'll see you on the flip side when this is done. Actually, it was done the first time I ran it. Dumbass me, right? But yes, if you get to this point where it says executing command to copy file, you should be done. And if you scroll through here, there's a lot of information. But the important thing to see is, if I can find it. I can't find it, but usually it'll tell you if there's any light leaks, but I don't see any. And all this stuff where it's like building face lights, gathering light, bounce lights, all done. So we can close out of this. I'm going to fire up TF2 because on the compile I said do not run the map, so I'm running it myself. And if everything went well, we'll go to find game, create a server, go down the list, and it should be somewhere on this list. Right there, learning hammer underscore 1. But you do continue and continue. And since we put that actor down from that asset pack, which I'll link below, and it had a red and blue color, you can pick any team right now. So let's pick blue. You can pick any class. And there we go. There is a countdown timer at the top. That's part of the modes or whatever, but you have 22 seconds before the mode starts. But here we are in our first box map in Hammer. So the counter is reset, and now we're free to run around as long as you want. So there you go. That is how you make your first box map in Hammer Editor. Hopefully, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer them because I am learning Hammer myself. But I will post a link to the sky list and the map pack, the asset pack, and there's tutorials about how to use the asset pack, but it's pretty straightforward. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we'll continue learning Hammer together. In the meantime, I also have some Unreal tutorials coming on for the Unreal fans. I haven't forgotten Unreal, but you know, just want to dive into something new for this new year. So on that note, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next videos. Cheers.